Exactly 30 minutes past the hour. Joining us, we gave him a hearty introduction just a moment ago, so we can get right into it. Our right next door neighbor, such a good neighbor, to be honest, in District 3, the president of the New Jersey State Senate now, and he will continue to be in the next session, and that is extremely essential, I believe. And I'll get into some of my rationale over the next 30 minutes. Joining us now is my friend, Senate President Steve Sweeney. Mr. President, good morning, sir.
Hey, Harry, thanks for having me, and I consider you a friend also. You know that.
Thank you, sir. I have to give you an opportunity, not to take like a victory lap or anything, because you're not that kind of guy, but if I make you comment about it, I feel like maybe you wouldn't mind commenting. Everything from the multi-million-dollar NJEA campaign to all the, just all the, bravado that, Sweeney was in trouble, this was a close race and all this, and you went on to actually win by your largest margin of your electoral career. What are your thoughts about that?
Harry, the teachers union was trying to send a message to the entire legislature that we're in charge. And no, they're not in charge. We need to be in charge. So we worked our butts off, and they were over the top, Harry. They spent $8 or $10 million. When it all comes out, we'll find out the real numbers. They spent like a ridiculous amount of money. They called me a lobbyist. Now, I can't be a lobbyist and a legislator. They said take out the trash. They were calling me trash. And in my district, Harry.
Wow.
In my district.
So they went low. They went real lowbrow.
They went low. They went personal. They were calling my son, who's an NJA member, telling him he need to come out and oppose me, and he says, it's my father.
Oppose your father.
Yeah, and they said, well, he's been bad for New Jersey, and he's bad for education. And Harry, they didn't just do it once. They kept calling him, trying to intimidate him. And all the flyers that they sent out in my district, they sent to every member of the legislature. And the message was, see what we're doing to Sweeney, we're going to do it to you next.
Wow. That
kind of behavior with unions went away 40 years ago. Teachers are wonderful people. You know that, Harry.
Yep.
They do great jobs. What they do for our children is remarkable, but their leadership is out of touch. Their members didn't listen to them. Their members voted for me. I got more votes in a lower turnout race than the 2013 race, which means their members had to vote for me. And you know what we exposed, Harry? We exposed that the executive director makes over $1 million. 6 or 7 of them make over $700,000. The head of the national AFL-CIO doesn't make that kind of money. If the entire country, it's disgraceful. They overcharge their members union dues, and then they squander them. We have political action committees, like a lot of unions have political action PAC funds. They spent union dues against me, which means they just didn't spend the union dues; they had to pay taxes on that. Harry, they really felt that it was wrong to expect them to participate in paying for health insurance. That it was wrong.
What do you say to the rank and file? And I do know this, that the vast majority ignored this $8 to $10 million obscene dollars that spent against you, and in the dirty way that they spent it. They didn't spend it in a nice way. They spent it in a very filthy way. I can only imagine they must be furious at 8, 9, 10, whatever this will ultimately be audited to come out to be, these millions of dollars of their dues. And you talk about a bad investment. I think net, I think what they did to you actually was a boost.
Well, it made me stronger, Harry. It absolutely made me stronger. And what I showed when back in 1991, they did the same thing to at the time John Lynch, who was the Senate president, and it was close. They got him close. Well, they didn't come anywhere near close with me.
How important was that to you, that not only did you defeat them, I know you as a person, so you're not vindictive. It wasn't just about beating the NJEA. You wanted to continue to represent the citizens of the 3rd Legislative District and, of course, the entire state as the president of the Senate. But how did that feel, though, to beat that kind of money down and actually win by the largest margin you have ever won by?
Well, I felt great that the people in my district, ignored what they were saying. You know, Harry, they said I didn't get anything done for South Jersey. We've never seen the resources that have come to South Jersey since I've been Senate President. And, you know, and it's not me alone. I just happen to hold the office so that wherever we're in meetings, it's what about South Jersey? You know what I'm saying? Like,
yep.
I'm at the table where we weren't at the table.
That's correct.
And you know, it's like, it's a wonderful feeling that the people that I've represented didn't buy the BS that they were selling, and at the end of the day, they got a shellacking. And, you know, like I said, no one should look at teachers like they're doing anything wrong. But how about how offensive, Harry? I was trying to fix a school funding formula. They were fighting it. They want us to leave, Harry. There's $740 million in called adjustment aid, where, like, the kids aren't in the schools, but the schools get the extra money anyway.
Right.
And they want to leave that money there. They were accusing me of taking money from kids. And I said, you know what BS that is? I said, those kids aren't in that school. Washington Township in Gloucester County is getting funded for 1,600 students that do not exist. And I had Kingsway that had 1,000 extra students that they were getting no funding for, Harry, and they think that's okay. Now, one school district was buying iPads for their elementary school because they have so much money. Another district, the kids are sharing books and they can't take them home. And that's okay for that union to support that?
It's terrible.
The union I come from, we look out for everyone, not just some of us. And, Harry, there's no – and the best part is they said they want to leave that $740 million where it's at and find additional revenue. No, we're not going to raise taxes, additional taxes, so that we can leave money in overfunded districts. Districts have had 9 years to right-size them. I don't want to see districts lay off teachers. I don't want to see programs cut. You know, Harry, but again, Washington Township, they could have shrank their district as the student base shrank. You know what I mean? They found ways to spend the money. You know, it's just offensive where you had some districts like, look, Atlantic City wound up as one of the biggest winners when we started moving money. And Atlantic still is way underfunded. And, you know, obviously we need to continue on the path. But, no, we're not going to raise taxes, so districts that are overfunded, that don't have students, or you know, that money has to follow the child. So they can't have it both ways, Harry, and they tried.
Senator Sweeney will be with us for the remainder of the hour. We have a lot of ground that we're going to cover. We're visiting with New Jersey State Senate President Steve Sweeney, fresh off of his latest mandate this past November 7th. And the good news continued for you when your members of the Senate caucus, in their infinite wisdom, decided that you should continue to be the Senate President. What did that mean to you?
Well, you know, after going through the election that I went through and, you know, everyone's saying that I was going to lose and I was in trouble, and then to win by a big margin, and then to have my members, you know, bring me back, Harry, want me back, was obviously one of the greatest. It's like when I was first elected to the Senate presidency. You know, I'm the first Senate president from, like, South Jersey in 58 years.
Correct.
And back then, they used to rotate the Senate president every year. So to have the support of my colleagues from the northern and central parts of the state, obviously I am very, very humbled and honored to have that. And look, I believe in relationships. I believe in treating people with respect. And, you know, my colleagues have given me this honor again. And it's a great opportunity for me to lead the Senate 2 more years. And we have a new governor. We have a new speaker. I'm anxious to work with the new speaker and new governor. I think I'm going to have a true partner with the speaker this time. And, you know, we had our times with Speaker Prieto. He just weighed in on things that, in my mind, he shouldn't have in Atlantic City. You know, we were trying to fix Atlantic City, and you see that we're starting to turn the corner. Harry, we got a lot of work to do. But if you talk to the guys at the Hard Rock, the guys that own the Hard Rock, if we hadn't done the state takeover bill, they wouldn't have invested the $500 million. They wouldn't be bringing back 3,000 jobs. Stockton wouldn't have happened. South Jersey Gas wouldn't happen. You know, we got a lot of work to do, but we're getting ready to pass a bill for the airport to provide tax credits for the airport in honor of Jim Whalen. It's a bill that he was trying to pass to help incentivize some businesses to come there. I know because we've been working so hard on drone technology, and I know the county's investing in there. So there's a strong commitment from me to Atlantic County and Atlantic City. I tell people all the time, Atlantic City was the golden goose, and it got sick.
Senator, with a great caller right before you arrived, I guess in the last hour, who brought up and said, Parry, would you please ask Senate President Sweeney about S-2872, which is what you just referenced. Is that going to happen?
Yes, and I spoke to the governor, and he's, listen, it's going to happen in the Senate. We're pushing it in the Assembly, and Governor Christie told me he'll sign it.
Is it meeting any resistance in the Assembly?
No, not yet. Not yet, but I don't think it will because, Jim Whalen was really pushing hard for this bill, and there was other legislators that were against it because Jim, because of the North Jersey casino stuff, they were mad, and Atlantic City came out and defended themselves. No one should be mad about somebody defending their house.
Exactly.
But with Jim's passing, I've asked my colleagues out of respect and that it meant so much to him. So I know that we're passing it in the Senate. The governor's going to sign it. I just have to make sure the Assembly moves it, and I can't see the Assembly. And knowing that this is in Jim's, this is like Jim's last piece of legislation.
This would be very disrespectful. Not to mention, this would be very, very good, as you know, for the region. So it's not just being sentimental or supportive or like a legacy for no good reason. This is something that we can proudly support. This is good.
Oh yeah, and listen, it's a very good piece of legislation, and you talked about the caller before. Denny is a good friend of mine, Denny Levinson, and they've stepped up. Harry, they're stepping up to do the right thing, down there, and we need to provide them the tools to make sure they're successful.
It's a good comment, Senate President Sweeney. You mentioned it. I mentioned it right before. We'll have a new governor. We'll have a new Assembly Speaker, and we will have our veteran Senate President Sweeney continue. That's very important to a lot of us statewide, and certainly down here in South Jersey, having someone in your position such as you. What do you see as your role with two brand new partners? They're both smart, and the Speaker is new to being Speaker, not new necessarily to being a legislator. The governor new, to this process as a chief executive officer of the state, but obviously had been a United States ambassador and, obviously a successful multi-millionaire. So no dummy there. But you're the veteran coming back. What do you see as your role with two new other leaders that you'll be working with?
Part of it, I think, is to give the historical perspective that, look, if we're going to go here and you want to try to do this, this is what we need to do, because you can go however you want, but I'm going to give you advice from the scars that I gained from doing some things the hard way. So it really, it's being a partner and being an honest partner. And look, I told people, just because we're all Democrats does not mean we're going to agree all the time, and we're not going to agree all the time, and that's okay. You know what I mean, Harry? That's okay. Disagreement isn't bad. Sometimes disagreement makes a better product, but it really is to slow down. Wait a minute. Like right now, we're dealing with the Washington's tax cut, which would be a major tax increase to New Jersey. And I said, listen, as much as I push the millionaire's tax, we got to hit a pause button. And, and our governor-elect's like, well, I'm going forward no matter what. And it's like, well, wait a minute. We have to take a comprehensive look before we make decisions. We have to be well informed. So, part of my job is going to be is that when I think he's not going in the right direction, trying to get him to go in the right direction. With Speaker Coughlin, we are going to meet much more often. We're going to meet with our leadership teams. The communication is going to improve. The fighting that took place with me and Speaker Pareto never had to take place. We just couldn't get along. So I'm very happy to have Speaker Coughlin come along, because I think he's the type of individual that will respect. Like, look, Atlantic City's in our backyard. It's my backyard. It's your home. You know, a Hudson County elected official coming down and trying to interfere with what we knew needed to be done. You know what I mean, Harry? We knew what needed to be done here. It wasn't pleasant, but we had to turn the ship around. You know, there was 39,000 people live in Atlantic City, and their budget was $260-some million. Isn't it nice? People are like, you know, you have people taking credit down there because the taxes went down. Well, the taxes wouldn't have gone down if we didn't do what we did.
Fair point. Very fair point. What is the future of the state's involvement? Obviously, the state is always a major shareholder, whether there is, you know, any type of, you know, MOU or this time a full-blown by legislation state takeover. What's the ramping down process? Because obviously the state can't stay forever. The state should not stay forever. And I don't even pretend to speak for you, but I have to believe that you agree with that statement. It cannot be a perpetual, permanent, you know, state of, you know, the structure that the state is running a municipality. It just doesn't, you know, it doesn't fly with localness and home rule, everything. What's the ramping down and the state pulling back and ultimately being out? What is that going to look like?
Well, it's a 5-year bill, Harry. You know, the takeover was for 5 years. I see us. Look, one of the things that I hope Governor-elect Murphy follows through with that Governor Christie didn't was the early retirements, the early retirements for our public safety people, and that's number one. So we can reduce the workforce, you know, that way, not laying people off.
Yeah. And
then Harry, it's just, you know, moving along. I mean, we stabilized the casino base, and the tax appeals. I think all the tax appeals now have been settled. I think
so too.
And so,
of course, unless this pilot legislation challenge is successful and the pilot is judicially discarded, and that would be upheld, because then there are a number of casinos that would be filing massive tax appeals. They would all win. It would be an incredible destabilization. I think the county does deserve the 13.5% Senate President Sweeney that was promised. That's double cross. So something's going to give here, and it might not have a pretty ending if the judiciary sees this differently than the legislature.
Well, we think we're on solid ground. I mean, obviously the courts will rule however they're going to rule. You know, we have a great court system, Harry. It's, you know, when people get appointed to judgeship, they're there for, and after 7 years they get reappointed, they're there for life, and we don't have to worry. You know, we don't have to worry about political influence like what they do over in Philadelphia, New York. You know, where judges actually run for office. So
yeah, it's terrible, actually.
It's horrible. You know, and to have an independent judicial system. You know, the assignment judge down there is actually someone that I moved forward when I first became a senator, Judge Menendez.
Yeah, he's actually on the case that I'm talking about.
Yeah, he's a great guy, and he's a great guy, and from what I've seen, he's been fair and measured in everything he does. So, I mean, he's really made me proud the way he's moved forward in his career. But, you know, Harry, courts are the courts. They'll make a decision. You know, I think we wrote the law in a way that we're on solid ground. The percentage is between the administration and the county, you know, and they can adjust it. It's in their power to adjust it, as you know.
Yeah.
And but like I said, you know, one of the most important things which we promised the public safety people was the buyouts, the early retirements, because you can shrink it. You can shrink the size of government without hurting people.
Yeah, that would be the way to do it. Then if you replace somebody that's at 100 and some thousand with somebody that's coming in at 39,000, you know, you've done a lot there, and a different collective bargaining agreement and all that. Senate President Sweeney, a couple other lengthy things and a few other things that we can get in the 11 minutes that we have. I knew it was going to fly by, and it is. It's flying by in the blink of an eye. Senate President Steve Sweeney is our exclusive guest this half hour of Hurley in the Morning on WPG. I feel this way, too, so I'm not going to you know me. I'm intellectually honest. I'm not going to say, you know, other people feel this way. I feel this way, too. I don't like what I'm hearing right now in terms of expansion of gaming in New Jersey. You know that we in this area and in other parts of South Jersey fought very, very hard and successfully in a mandate to beat down that issue of moving any type of gaming outside of Atlantic City. I mean, it was, let's just put it in common man plain speak, it was an ass whooping, 70 to 30% drubbing. So the state now twice in the last 40 years, anytime they've had a chance in different eras, different generations to have gaming statewide or in other parts of the state, they said no. And they said no by big numbers. So it's pretty, I think, codified and settled that the people want gaming in Atlantic City only. I'm hearing from friends of mine, and you know my background as a former Wynn and Trump executive, senior executive. I know people, and they're telling me that there is an effort afoot to bring gaming back to North Jersey. Obviously, losing that ballot question protects it for a couple of years. It can't come back that way. I hear maybe there's a legislative end run that somebody is considering. Can you assure us that that's not going to happen, or can you not assure us?
Harry, I can't see any way that it could happen. Number one, it got crushed, as you know.
Yep.
Everyone wanted that opportunity. Harry, it was no surprise it got crushed. It got crushed the first time when they wanted to put it anywhere. And then, Harry, I don't see where it's coming back. It got beat too big. And you know something? What's exciting right now for us, Harry, is we're getting sports betting. We think I'm going down to the Supreme Court hearing on Monday to watch the hearing.
That could be wonderful if we get that. I know we'll have to wait till the spring probably for the decision, but that could be incredible.
Harry, and everyone's getting ready. Brigada is putting $7 million into it. When we lost at every single level. The Senate was with the governor on this lawsuit. We participated. We were part of this lawsuit, and we took it all the way, and we lost on every single challenge. And then the Supreme Court took it.
I know.
And now you have 3 of the 4 leagues saying they're in favor of it. So, they're finally coming around to being honest about this.
I think we're going to win it. I think just on the equal protection clause that some have it and you can't make it that others can't. I think we're going to win this.
Yeah, and like I said, Harry, I don't see where this would be coming back, honestly.
Good.
Like I said, I gave them their chance. You know what I'm saying, Harry? I sponsored the bill. And I tied everything to Atlantic City, and they, and the people were saying, well, because I tied it to Atlantic City is why it failed. Well, do you think I would ever let a bill go forward that wasn't going to, be tied to Atlantic City somehow? So, they blame me for the failure of it, and that's fine. It's fine. The people spoke, and the people spoke overwhelmingly. And, and what you're seeing right now is you're going to see Pennsylvania. They just expanded gaming. They're destroying their gaming industry. They're with 10 small casinos now, and they're going to put them at the airports, and they're going to, they're just going to really destroy what they have by going too broad with it. There's only so many dollars, Harry. There's only so many dollars, and if we can continue to create the amenities and and diversify the economy down there, we'll get more people there, and hopefully, Carl Icahn will tear down Trump Plaza with his own money.
Was my next question for you. I know you're opposed to the millions that Carl Icahn would receive from the Casino Reinvestment Development Authority funds to tear down the former Trump Plaza Hotel and Casino. Why?
Well, Harry, you're supposed to have a plan on, and it would definitely be an improvement. But he's not showing us anything that would work well. The money's coming from the Taj, which is a place that he destroyed and laid off 3,000 people. This guy is a guy that just takes advantage of people. They say he's this investor that is on the little guy's side. He's not on the little guy's side. He's for the big guy himself alone. And he can afford to tear down the Trump Plaza. And people say, well, he won't tear it down. I said, fine, let him pay taxes on the property. The building's not there. You don't pay taxes on it. Harry, it's a lot cheaper.
Yeah, sure.
And you know something? And he should do it on his own. And like I said, he should do it on his own. There's no reason why we should be taking dollars that could help Atlantic City and just put them in the pocket of a billionaire that takes and doesn't give anything back.
We have 5 minutes remaining for this visit, and we want him to come back. Senate President Steve Sweeney is with us. What are some of the issues in the next term that you're going to be pursuing, Senate President?
Harry, we're going to raise the minimum wage, but we're going to do it in a responsible way, and we're going to do it over a period of time that I have to negotiate with Murphy and Coughlin. But minimum wage is a very important bill for me, and but it has to come with some exemptions. 16 to 18-year-old kids don't need to make $15 an hour, Harry, and we're talking about certain exemptions when we raise it to 15, because wherever it's been raised to 15, there have been exemptions put in. The farming community, they sell commodity. If we put minimum wage at $15 for farmers, they would be out of business. So we have to be smart when we do it. So, we'll take a measured approach, but we intend to raise the minimum wage. Expanding paid family leave.
By the way, just talking about that for a moment, I know you're concerned about the millionaire's tax, and I want to get into that before we run out of time this hour, and it's going quick here, about 3 minutes left, and it's a hard break. And I would respect your time anyhow, so we're going to finish in 3 minutes. Seattle did something similar. I predicted what was going to happen in advance. I'm not a Wharton School graduate or anything fancy, but I just know when you jack up the minimum wage in certain positions, you lead to layoffs, you lead to other problems, and Seattle's backing off this thing completely now. It's destroying their economies of scale, their business models. I think it's a mistake. Is this a definite?
Harry, I told you we're going to do it in a smart way.
All right.
Okay. Listen, and what you do, you learn from other places. That's, there's pluses and minuses. When you go first, you're proud to be the first in the nation when you do something. But when you do it, it normally comes with, we should have done this, we should have done that. That's why I said, look, when we do the $15, it has to recognize if we do this, there's a yin for every yang. And we just have to walk in with our eyes wide open. It's just like the millionaire's tax, Harry, that you mentioned. I've voted for it 6 times, but until we know what's coming out of Washington,
yep,
it wouldn't be responsible to just to go forward without looking.
Yeah, I was very pleased when I heard you say that, because to me that's what I like about you. You would think some people that try to just profile someone, well, he's a Democrat, so he's for raising taxes. He's a Democrat, so he'll want to sock it to the rich. He's a Democrat, so he'll do this. But I appreciate the fact that you're looking at something that is the unknown at this point, and before enacting something that could really injure and create wealth flight and all kinds of problems in our state, I really appreciate this about you. Here is one other, I think, gigantic it's sort of a social question. There's so many, I think, tentacles to it. Mm-hmm. In 2018, do you believe that the state of New Jersey will legalize recreational marijuana? Is its time now? Is this going to happen as Senate President, in your estimation?
Well, I haven't taken a vote tally, but yeah, I think it's time. I'm supportive of it, Harry, and I'm not supportive of it because the taxes that it generates. When I went to Colorado, I saw opioid abuse drop 29%. Underage drug use went down. And we're doing it in Colorado. They did it through a constitutional amendment. We're going to try to do it legislatively, which means if we make mistakes, we can correct them quickly. For me, Harry, when you look at all the stats, Colorado created 29,000 new jobs. We have 3,000 in New Jersey because of our location. We see a big uptick, but again, we have to be careful. We have to make sure that we have all the protections in. Listen, in Colorado, when they passed the constitutional amendment, they passed it by letting people grow 6 plants in their homes. We're not allowing people to grow in their homes. If we're going to regulate an industry, we're not going to allow people to, be in their basements with stills. You know what I mean?
Yes.
Or with growing plants. If we're going to do it, we're going to do it in a way that we're going to regulate it, and we use those dollars, whatever we generate, to make sure that we do the proper education for kids. And at the end of the day, Harry, I feel that marijuana is, I think alcohol, honestly, is as dangerous, if not more dangerous.
Senate President Sweeney, I don't want our hour to be over, but it is. I'm hoping that you will come back again.
Harry, I'd love to.